Firstly, the parties are to phase out manufacturing, import, and export of mercury-added products listed in Part 1 of Annex A. So this is about phase out. And the second provision or obligation is that each party shall take other measures on the products listed in Part 2 of Annex A. Part 1 of Annex A lists a number of products, as I present later, and Part 2 currently lists only the dental amalgam. The next slide, please. So this slide is just an example of mercury products, so that you can easily understand what the article is about. But I'm not going one by one. So I will jump into the next one, which is the amendments to the Annex A. And the parties may amend the convention, include its annex. And Annex A was amended twice. At COP4 in 2022, COP decided to add 8 mercury products to Annex A Part 1 and added 2 mandatory measures to dental amalgam to Annex A Part 2. At COP5 in 2023, last year, the COP5 decided to add 9 mercury products to Annex A Part 1 and added 1 mandatory measure for dental amalgam to Annex A Part 2. And COP5 also decided to amend Annex B on the mercury using processes. So the next slide is the mercury products that were added to Annex A Part 1 by COP5. And I will not read all of them. You will see this in the COP5 decision. I think my colleague Wimbo has put the link to the chat box, so you can refer to this list. And then the Annex A Part 2, this slide presents the provisions that were added to the Annex A Part 2. And also Annex B Part 1, COP decided to phase out the production of polyurethane using mercury-containing catalysts. In a bit softer character, I also noted the COP5 decision on the mercury-added products that they decided to come back to at the next meeting, COP6. And it is about the phase out of dental amalgam and also added additional measures on dental amalgam. So going to the next. And if we consolidate the added mercury-added products, this is the consolidated list of the Annex A Part 1. And it may look a bit scary because if you start from the top, batteries except for mercury content, the button zinc silver oxide batteries less than 2% of mercury contents. And COP5 decided to add the other batteries, the mercury-added batteries that are not addressed in the previous Annex A. That means that all the batteries are all the mercury-containing batteries are to be phased out. The next slide is the continuation of the list, so I'm not going into details. The next slide is just a schematic explanation on the lamps, and as you see, the original text of the Minamata Convention only regulated, for example, the compact fluorescent lamps less than um, 30 watts and containing uh, more than 5 milligrams of mercury per lamp. And then there's a decision at COP4 to add some fluorescent lamps, and then uh, at COP5, parties agreed to cover all the fluorescent lamps for general lighting purposes. So this is about the uh, amended Annex A, and I will hand over to my colleague Lara to present the legal aspect of the amendment. Over to you, Lara.
Thank you very much, Isako, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Lara Onyebene. I'm the legal officer with the Secretariat. And I have a few slides for you today to go through the procedure for entry into force of amendments under the Convention. So first of all, in accordance with Article 26, the Secretary General of the United Nations, acting as the depository of the Convention, has recently issued a communication following the adoption of Decision MC5/4 on the amendments. And this communication went out on the 25th of April this year. And it includes, as in its amendment, the Annex A and B in the 6 languages, UN languages. Starting from this date, we will calculate entry into force in accordance with Article 27 of the Convention. So there are different options for entry into force. The first one is that within a year, so for any party, on the expiry of 1 year from the date of communication by the depository, the amendments will enter into force, and the date is 25th of April 2025, with 2 exceptions. The first one is except for any party that notifies the depository in writing that is unable to accept the amended text. And this is in accordance with the paragraph 3b of Article 27. And the second exception is that for any party that have made a declaration with regard to amendment to annexes in accordance with paragraph 5 of Article 30. So these are the 2 exceptions. For the first, in the first case, in the case of non-acceptance, the time frame is 1 year for notifying the depository of non-acceptance. And for the second case, for the case of parties who have made a declaration on the Article 30, entry into force is only subject to ratification of the amendments. And I will describe a bit more in detail this procedure in the next slide as it applied to COP4 amendments. So if I could have, please, the next slide. So this is how the procedure under Article 30, paragraph 5 unfolded for COP4. So under this procedure, only for those parties who have notified, submitted a declaration, amendments enter into force on the 19th day after the date of deposit of the instrument of ratification, acceptance, approval, or accession with respect to the amendment. So as it applied to COP4, as of today, the depository has not received any instrument of ratification from any of the parties who have submitted the declaration. So therefore, for COP4 amendments, the general entry into force date is 28th of September 2023, because that was 1 year after the communication of the depository for COP4 amendments, with 2 exceptions. One, only one party notified the depository in accordance with paragraph 3b of Article 27, and that was China. And then all the other parties who had, at the time of ratification, submitted a declaration under Article 30. For those, and there is a list here on the slide, the amendments, the COP4 amendments haven't entered into force yet. There is a table providing an overview of all the status of entry into force of all amendments adopted at COP4 on our website, and you can go through the list. And the same will be done for COP5 amendments as soon as the 25th of April entry into force date will arrive. Now, moving on to the next slide, we have the issue of exemptions. The date of entry into force of amendments to annexes has also implications for a party wishing to register an exemption pursuant to Article 6. In addition, Article 4, paragraph 1 states that each party shall not allow, by taking appropriate measures, the manufacture, import, or export of mercury-added products listed in Part 1 of Annex A after the phase-out date specified for those products, except where an exclusion is specified in Annex A, or, and this is our case, the party has registered an exemption pursuant to Article 6. So as we apply these two articles combined in accordance also with Article 6, parties may register for one or more exemptions for the phase-out dates associated with any mercury-added product added by amendment to Annex A. The formats to be used for registering an exemption for the phase-out dates listed in Annex A and B are available on our website, and there is a link in this slide. Next slide, please. Still on the exemptions. So, how does it work? Parties shall notify the Secretariat, not the depository in this case, the Secretariat, the exemption registration in writing no later than the date upon which the applicable amendment enters into force for the party. So according to the options that I mentioned in my previous slides, there are three possibilities. Entry into force of the amendment and therefore the possibility for registering an exemption related to it could be either within 1 year after the communication by the depository or upon withdrawal of a notification of non-acceptance, or 90 days after the date of deposit of the instrument of ratification for the amendment for only those parties who have submitted a declaration according to paragraph 5 of Article 30. Again, the list of parties who have submitted such notification declaration is available on our website. Furthermore, pursuant to paragraph 2 of Article 4, parties may indicate at the time of ratification or entry into force of an amendment to Annex A for it that it will implement different measures or strategies to address products listed in Part 1 of Annex A. And so far, only the United States has notified its intention to use this alternative at the time of ratification. And only at the time of ratification, this notification can be made. Next slide, please. Okay, this is my last slide and a summary of the procedure that I've illustrated so far for entry into force. So we start from the date of deposit, we start from the date of notification by the depository of the COP5 decision, which was circulated to all parties on 25th April 2024. We then set 1 year of time until 25th of April 2025 for entry into force for all parties. Within this time frame, any party can submit to the notification of non-acceptance to the depository, and that will suspend the entry into force of the convention until it is withdrawn. This procedure applies to all parties except for those parties who have submitted a declaration under paragraph 5 of Article 30. For those parties, entry into force of amendments is subject to ratification of the amendments, and therefore entry into force will happen only 90 days after the deposit of such ratification instrument with the depository. This slide sums up a bit the procedure. If you can go back, please. And to keep in mind is that parties shall also notify the Secretariat any exemption registration in writing no later than the date upon which the applicable amendment enters into force for the party. Thank you. This concludes my presentation or my part of the presentation. And of course, I am available for any questions on this. Thank you very much.
Isaku, your microphone is muted. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
It seems that there's a issue in my audio. So thank you, Lara. And the next, I see some questions in the chat. So I would encourage participants to post any questions while you're listening. And now I would like to invite a colleague from WHO, Benoit Varen, to present on the dental amalgam, and I think you're going to share your screen.
Thank you, Isaku. Yes, I will share my screen. Yes, I think it's okay now. So, good day, everyone. It's really a pleasure to participate in this webinar. So, thanks for the invitation. And the main objective is to share some information about the work that WHO is doing with other partners in the context of the Minamata Convention and with a focus on this issue of phasing down the use of dental amalgam. And the objective also is to show the importance of the involvement of Ministry of Health in all processes, and of course in strong collaboration with Ministry of Environment. So this is already what Isaku just presented regarding the new mandatory requirement related to Annex A Part 2 and specifically targeting the dental amalgam. So now the parties should submit to the Secretary a national action plan or report based on available information with respect to progress they have made or are making to phase down or phase out dental amalgam every 4 years as part of national reporting. And here, this slide is just to remind you all that WHO has a strong mandate, in the context of the Minamata Convention, thanks to these two resolutions. One is was endorsed in 2014, and the second one is much more recent, 2021, and describing the role of WHO in the context of the convention, but also it explained clearly, the role of Ministry of Health in countries that also should be definitely engaged, in all the processes and collaborate with Ministry of Environment. So it's good to have these two resolutions and to have a clear mandate also for WHO Secretariat. Here, just one slide to explain that beyond the convention of Minamata, of course, WHO follow its own agenda. And regarding oral health and phasing down the use of dental amalgam, last year, the World Health Assembly discussed and agree on the global oral health action plan that will drive, the agenda of countries and Ministry of Health, toward 2030. And as part of this global ORF action plan, you can see on the slide that we have a global target related about environmentally sound oral health care, who is fully aligned with, of course, the convention, the Minamata Convention. And as part of this global action plan also, we define a number of actions, activities that member state, Ministry of Health, WHO Secretariat, but also other partners, including academic, non-state actors, civil society, but also private sectors, should have to implement to ensure that we are achieving a number of targets, including one, again, regarding the convention of Minamata. So this specific target mentioned that by 2030, 90% of countries have implemented measures to phase down the use of dental amalgam as stipulated in the Minamata Convention on Mercury, or have phased it out. So I think it's important also that this governing body instrument from WHO are definitely aligned with the convention itself. Here, two slides just to show that in collaboration with the Secretariat of Minamata Convention, WHO also is monitoring the progress made by parties in terms of implementation of measures. And these results were presented during the COP5. And you can see here a slide showing that it's the status, of the implementation of the 2 or more of the 9 original measures to phase down the use of dental amalgam. So the countries who are in yellow have already implemented 2 or more of the 9 original measures. And you can see that, of course, there is a number of data not available at this time.
Benoit, can you wrap up in a minute?
Yes. The second slide is also the result of the same survey, and just showing implementation of both mandatory measures to phase down the use of dental amalgam. We can see that the progress that parties have made over the recent years regarding these recent measures. Now, just also a slide to present this, what we call the GEF7 project, that is implemented in strong collaboration with UNEP. So you can see that the project started 1 year ago. We are working with 3 countries, Thailand, Senegal, Uruguay, and the project is organized through 3 main sections. The first one is improve policy and technical capacity. The second one is focusing on the waste management. It's one of the big issues we have to work on. And the third one is knowledge management and global awareness. My last slide, just to let you know that there is a number of resources available in WHO website, but also in UNEP, if you want to have much more information about both the GEF7 project, but also beyond on the oral health agenda from WHO. So thank you so much, and happy to respond to any such a question. Back to you, Isaku. Thank you.
Thank you, Benoit, and sorry for rushing. And then, in the benefit of time, I think we are going to jump into the next item, which is about the cosmetics. And I'm going to present the another COP decision, COP5 decision, to collect information on the challenges in controlling the mercury-added cosmetics. And I'm speaking to the decision MC/5/5, which requested the invited parties to submit information by 30th of June this year. And then it is about the challenges in controlling the mercury-added cosmetics, and the Secretariat was requested to synthesize the information based upon the information received, and the report will include issues such as the phasing out of sales and offers of sales of mercury, and so on and so forth. This slide will be shared after the webinar, so I'm not going to read the text, but the parties are to submit information by the 30th of June. And the next slide is the letter that the Executive Secretary sent to parties and stakeholders to submit information, and there's a format for submission of information. This is a Word file table format, and we are going to compile the information, and we are going to hire a consultant. The consultant position was advertised last week, and it will be open until the end, 29th of May. And after that, we will hire a consultant to compile the information that were submitted by the 30th of June. And we are going to present the document with after consulting with the WHO Global Mercury Partnership, and so on and so forth. So I would invite other WHO and Global Mercury Partnership to speak to this. And the next, so I think I will also cover other matters that the Secretariat is doing. Sharifu, can you advance the slide? So this, I'm going to the next slide, capacity building and addressing mercury products, and I'm touching upon this as well. So the next, in the next slide, this is just to let you know that we are implementing a capacity building project funded by the European Union, and we have we are developing a training material on mercury-added products, including the amendments and so on. And the next slide is the Minamata Online series in 6 languages that we are convening under this capacity building program. So we are about to announce the 6 webinars in 6 UN languages in June and July. And the next slide is the we are opening a Minamata Online forum, an online forum where you can post questions on the training material, and also any issues on the amendments or the mercury-added cosmetics. So this is the how to register in the Minamata Online forum, and the next slide is how to post the questions and so on. This slide will be available on the Minamata Convention website, so I'm not going into detail here. So without further delay, I'm going to invite a colleague from WHO, Leslie Onion, to speak to the WHO's perspective on mercury-added cosmetics and anything and any other mercury-added products.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you, Isaku. So I think we're sharing the slides from your side. Thank you. So I need to, the first few slides just to give you a little bit of background. The next slide, please. As Benoit said in his presentation, the issue of mercury is a high concern to the ministries of health that make up the World Health Assembly, and we have this mandate to support countries in implementation of the Minamata Convention. Next slide, please. So the skin lightening products are are a legitimate medical product, a registered medical product, and they are designed to treat hyperpigmentation of the skin, which is a condition of a number of different diseases and conditions, such as sun damage, side effects of drugs, injury, scarring, as well as a number of autoimmune diseases. Next slide, please. But skin lightening that we're talking about under the Minamata Convention is another story. And this is often called skin bleaching or skin toning. And we see many images in the media basically promoting people with of color or with darker skin to lighten their skin. And this is the type of skin lightening product that we're focusing on. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about a new GEF project, relatively new. It's a project designed to eliminate mercury from skin lightening products. It's a 3-year project in 3 countries, implemented by UNEP, but co-executed by WHO and the Biodiversity Research Institute. It has these 3 objectives for building capacity on legislation enforcement, compliance, and awareness raising, recognizing that there are many gaps in the legislative landscape, and as Isaku has outlined, that this is a concern to the convention, and they're currently collecting information on these gaps. But this project also has an objective of reducing or stopping the production, trade, and distribution in the project countries, as well as developing some knowledge management tools that can be useful to other countries. So it's focusing on these 3 countries, Jamaica, Sri Lanka, and Gabon, but some of the tools that are being developed under the project will be more widely useful, we hope. Next slide, please. So a little bit of progress that's happened in these 3 countries. In Gabon, they've already developed a new ministerial decree to stop the use of mercury in skin lightening products, and are now in the process of sensitizing regulators and customs officials and others about those new regulations. They're also investigating some of the knowledge, attitudes, and practices behind the use of skin lightening products to get a better understanding of how widespread the issue is in the country, as well as strengthening their sampling and analysis of products, assisted by the Biodiversity Research Institute. In Jamaica, they've also had a stakeholder meeting to identify all of those that have an interest in this issue, and have begun on initially assessing the regulatory landscape, adapting training materials for public health professionals, as well as doing some initial sampling of products on the market. And in Sri Lanka, they are looking forward to launching the project next month in June, and have established a national multi-ministerial committee in association with its National Minamata Convention Steering Committee. They're also developing their plans for sampling the products on the market. So that from WHO's perspective, we're currently focusing on understanding more about getting some insights into the behavioral changes needed to influence people to stop using these products. We're launching a piece of work to understand more about the online sales and marketing of these products, as well as developing a model regulatory approach that could be considered more widely and more useful for other countries. Next slide, please. So one of these products that the technical products that we're developing is a toolbox. It could be used for establishing laws to eliminate mercury in skin lightening products. And many of the activities in the project will inform the development of this toolbox. But we're taking inspiration from the toolbox that was established as part of the Eliminating Lead Paint project that the GEF also supported. And the different components of this toolbox could include easy to use documents to setting out the need for regulating mercury in skin lightening products, a global map indicating the status of laws in countries, different fact sheets and infographics that can be used in advocacy campaigns in different languages, guidance on analytical methods and sampling, results of product testing in a sort of database identifying products which we know contain mercury, as well as the setting out the elements of an effective regulation, and including in that a model law that could be used for countries which don't currently have any regulations in place. That would also be accompanied by case studies from countries, as well as a global repository of legislation that exists. So as I said, we'll be developing this toolbox based on the activities in the project plus other activities. We hope that it would be available, widely used and of interest to other countries. Next slide, please.
Leslie, if you can wrap up in a minute.
Yeah. So just 1 minute, I think. So we find why this toolbox is necessary is because we find that the regulatory approaches do differ from different countries, even if they have laws in place. And this complexity is because of the way that the different products are defined. And we know that we have different product regulatory approaches for pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, consumer products, and these skin lightening products can be defined in either as pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, or consumer products, depending on the law in the different countries. So from a model approach, we would define a pharmaceutical as something that has a physiological effect, whereas a cosmetic is something that just makes the skin smell better or beautifies the appearance. Clearly, the fact that the mercury interferes with the enzymes producing melanin puts it into a pharmaceutical type of regulatory context. However, we see different approaches being used. Next slide, please. We've done a survey already, and we're in the process of analysing that survey to look at the measures in place. And we have responses from 75 countries, including 59 parties of the Minamata Convention. 42 of those respondents replied that they had legislation in place that prohibited the manufacture import of cosmetics containing more than 1 ppm of mercury. We've got copies of that legislation from 14 countries. However, there are limited responses from countries which have significant global sales. And so that's a little bit of a surprise, or maybe not so much of a surprise, but there are many gaps and in the answers and the lack of awareness on a number of points. Next slide, please. I think is a summary slide. So the 3 GEF project countries we're working with will be expected to provide a detailed assessment and inputs to the COP5 submission process, and that we're supporting them to do that because this is part of the work that they're doing under the projects. The WHO survey results and literature survey that we've undertaking will be provided, and we have to coordinate well on the timing of that with the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention. But the project outputs, particularly the toolbox, I think will be very useful for supporting implementation of the Minamata Convention as we move forward. So just to reiterate, we are very committed to working in cooperation with the Minamata Convention Secretariat, and hope that we can add value to the submissions process that you're currently running. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. So now, before going into the questions, I would like to invite the last speaker, Elena Limberidi, representing the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership. Elena, over to you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Shariful, will you be sharing my slides, please? Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Elena Limberidis Setimo. I'm working for the EB and the Zero Mercury Working Group, and we are also co-leads of the Global Mercury Partnership, the products area. As you may know, the Zero Mercury is an international coalition which was launched in 2005 with more than 110 public interest NGOs from over 55 countries. Next slides, please. Here, as you can see, we have been working with many partners around the world. We have started a skin lightening campaign with different partners, and here you can see those who were involved in our last sampling exercise last year. Next slide, please. And with this presentation, we would like to pick up the elements that Isaacu and Leslie mentioned before. As we know, the skin lightening products, the mercury-added skin lightening products, is a global health crisis. It's a multidimensional and transboundary issue. And with this presentation, we'd like to focus on the element of challenges and measures and the importance that there is for countries, for parties, and for stakeholders to fill in the form that was circulated by the Secretariat and provide what is the situation in their countries. So next slide, please. Since 2017, the Zero Mercury has gathered evidence by sampling on the ground markets. And in the recent years, we have been sampling more from online platforms. Overall, around 1,000 products have been tested from around the world. And we have been finding the same products in different platforms from around the world and in different years, which have continuously been showing high mercury content. So this is to show that the problem still persists. And this is why it's so important to actually do something about it beyond the fact that the ban through the Minamata Convention is there. Also, the Environmental Investigation Agency carried out an investigative study showing that the mercury compounds are intentionally added in skin lightening products. While the main centers of production investigated were in Thailand, Jamaica, and Pakistan, the intermediate transit ports are in Europe, Middle East, and in the US. So this is really a global problem through different sites. Next slide, please. Here is just to show you a few of the online platforms where very high mercury creams have been found. And these are relevant from Asia to Africa and Latin America, the Caribbean. Next slide, please. So the challenges and the issues that we have observed through this exercise is that, of course, that the toxic trade continues. The illegal production of these high mercury creams continues, and this violates consumer health and safety laws. Countries of origin are mainly observed from the packaging as Pakistan, Thailand, and China, but there are also production in other countries. And we have observed also that the packaging can be misleading. And as I mentioned earlier on, the compounds are also an issue which now the Minamata also is starting to address through the study. Next slide, please. So here is where I would like to spend a little bit more time. So this refers to how we could assist and how we could look into filling in the forms to be sent to the Secretariat. So it would be very helpful for the parties and the stakeholders, for the parties where they're based, to look at the gaps, where if they have any gaps. And these gaps could be relevant to regulations, and could be relevant, as you can see, to the advisories, detention list, and other elements. And then look the challenges that are related under these different categories, and then respond those if they don't have them as a challenge, as a gap. Whereas if they do have them, this could be responded as measures in the second part of the form. And to go slightly through these sections, so in terms of regulation, we can be looking if the law is there. The law is not only the banning of the import, export, and manufacture, but it could also be relevant to demanding labeling of ingredients or labeling requirements. Also, as a regulatory part, you can see in many countries advisories or detention lists. Detention lists are lists of prohibited products. And this is also like a legal instrument, a tool that countries can use. So if it's not there, this could be a gap or a challenge, and this could be well reported. On the other hand, if you do have that, it would be very helpful to make this available for others to share. There are also regional and advisory alert systems around the world, and also looking at the licensing and product ingredients approval. If there are licensing for manufacturers or approval criteria for the ingredients used, these are also elements to be looked at and reported accordingly. Very important element, as it also came up in the last COP, is the enforcement. So it's whether we have clear mandates and responsibilities between the different agencies within the country, whether there is a formalized inspection program, and then of course whether capacity building is there to continuously inform and train the relevant officers. Penalties and sanctions are also tools that can be used. And of course, the level of penalties is something to be looked at, because if it's very low, it may not have an effect that is wished for. In a similar way, looking at the advertising, display, and marketing, this is something that could go beyond chemicals and cosmetics. We need to look at laws that could be there prohibiting the advertisement of banned products, and this could apply, of course, for cosmetics. So these are elements that would need to be checked at. If we have them, this could be a challenge, a gap. If we don't have them, if we don't have them, this should be reported as a challenge or a gap. And if they are in the country, this could be responded as measures which have been taken. Next slide, please. In a similar way, the data collection needs to be supported to look whether we have the relevant sources to act upon, if there are the necessary instruments to look and verify whether there is mercury in the creams, like XRFs, whether we have laboratories in place, and whether the personnel is trained and they know how to identify the high mercury. And at the same time, the awareness is a very important factor that we've seen coming up. And when I talk about the awareness, it's not only about consumers, but it's also within the regulatory and enforcement agents. It's very important that us who are involved with mercury also inform other areas of the government, and then also the health professionals, eventually the consumers. Collaboration, of course, with academia, health professionals, and the NGOs, it would be very important to that respect. Another important element to look at, where we have also good examples around the world, is the intergovernmental and interregional cooperation. Again, the mandates and responsibilities within the different agencies, the police, the customs, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Health, would really need to be defined. There needs to be a lead ministry to coordinate the whole work. And then at the same time, we need to look around our neighbors to see what work can be done together, as sometimes the borders can be very porous and the creams could pass from one country to the other. As was mentioned,
can you
yes. So the online commerce is a very difficult area to look at. And again, we need to look at a wider space of digital services related regulations that exist, and then look at the voluntary aspects which complement these regulatory aspects. Next slide, please. So here's just to share that also the Global Mercury Partnership has, as they are also working under the Jeff WHO project that Leslie presented earlier, a knowledge hub on eliminating mercury on skin lightening products has been created. And also, if you want to become part of this, you can contact Gosia. Her email is on the slide. And also a hub and a platform of the interested people can be part of that and can contribute to the relevant materials that they have. Next slide, please. It's this last one. Thank you again for the time, and you can find all our materials on our website and our enforcement relevant related report and database. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena, and sorry to all the presenters for rushing, but I really wanted to have time for questions, Q&A, and this discussion. We have 6 minutes, and the secretariat is available a few minutes after that, but perhaps other presenters may not be available. So I'd invite presenters to jump in if you wish to respond to any of the questions in the chat box yourself. And we, while doing that, I think I am very happy to see a very rich communication information put in the chat, and I would encourage putting your information and questions in the chat box, which is very important. Thank you for providing information on the challenges in controlling cosmetics, and I would encourage all of you to respond to the questionnaire so that it will be compiled and submitted to the COP. I think some of the questions or technical questions have been responded in the chat box already. One question about the HS code, how can we phase out the import and export with without HS codes, and the use of the customs code has been a topic for the past COP. There is a guidance document on the use of the HS code, but the customs code, but the message is that the parties may wish to develop a customs codes more than 6 digits if they need to distinguish the Mercury-added products controlled in the Minamata Convention. One challenge is that, for example, the fluorescent lamp has its 6-digit customs code, but it will not be realistic to divide it into the mercury contents 5 milligram and so on so forth. So the realistic approach would be that if customs officers finds the possible mercury products, the customs should be checking whether that is compliant with the Minamata Convention. So and also if any of the presenters would like to jump in, I would welcome that. But perhaps I will pick up one question about the from Surinder Kumar Karla. What is the remedy to the victim in spite of the fact the party has signed the agreement, agreed to the amendments, and ratified such products and cosmetics are advertised by celebrates using them? And perhaps I would invite my colleague Lara if there's anything we can say on this.
Thank you, Isaku. Well, if a party has ratified the convention and amendments, then it should have in place also legislation that provides such remedies for people who have suffered damages resulting from the use of these cosmetics if they are available on the market or after the phase-out date. So this should not be allowed by the party. So remedies depend on applicable legislation at national level that should comply with the requirements of the convention and Article 4 and Annex A. So it may really vary and depends on each party exactly on the kind of remedies available. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lara. I'm not sure whether WHO may wish to jump in because this is very much related to the national health policies.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. I think we could, have a webinar on this question alone because, Laura was talking about if there are damages. Well, of course, these products don't immediately damage the health, but we do know that long-term use of them can certainly affect the proper functioning of the skin and make it more prone to infections and so on. And of course, then there's the chronic impact of mercury once it's absorbed into the body, which is more difficult to detect. So I think that we would rather not sort of rely on individuals putting cases for personal damage, to their health, but stop them, stop these products coming onto the market. We also have, it's not only, obviously, we know that people using these products in their home, we're going to be exposing other members of the family and the environment as well when these products, clothing is washed and so on. So I think that we would also look for some to prevent these products getting on the market being and then having some legal barriers there. So if products are found on the market, products can be confiscated and companies can be fined and so on. So we'd rather sort of look at that end of the remedy scale rather than on a sort of an individual's basis, because it's sometimes very hard to prove that product A is causing particular impacts. It's a very complex legal process. Hope that helps a little bit, but I think it's a very interesting question that I think we'll be talking more of as we develop our work in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. And I see some raised hands, but I don't think we have time to open the floor for oral questions. So if you have any questions, you can still use the chat box, and your questions are recorded. And as I said, we have opened the Minamata Convention Forum, so the discussion may continue to that forum. I think, I would like to pick up only one question from Ramcharita Sat, who says mercury-based products phased out in 2020, like BP set has been available of today on Alibaba online portal. What initiative Mercury, the Minamata Convention has taken to address this? And this is a very important question. And the 2020 deadlines is for most of the parties, but there are exemptions which is applicable until 2025, and also, of course, there are non-parties. So it may be challenging to address this globally. The Minamata Convention is a major part of the global effort to phase out such products. And in information collection on challenges in cosmetics, we are very sure that the online sales issue is one of the large big challenges, and this would be a topic for future COP discussion, how we really address the online sales. And with this, I think I would like to show two slides before closing. Sharif, if you can show the some other slides, which is, I just wanted to note two other things. One is about national reporting, second short reports, and we are putting together the national short reports for the discussion of the implementation compliance committee and the reporting deadline has passed, but we will accept late reports, but anything before we will receive by 24th of May, it will be included in the ICC and the report to ICC, and also a new reporting guidance is available. And next slide is about the tomorrow's Minamata Online on the financial mechanism, and also the opening of the fourth round of application on the specific international program, which will close by the 31st of July. For further detail will be presented tomorrow. So thank you very much, and sorry for 5 minutes delay, but I wish you a nice rest of the day. Thank you very much for your participation.